Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today, listeners, I've got a returning guest. I'm very excited to say I've got Barbara Magro Berg. She is a loving relationship mentor and author of The Science of Attracting Your Soulmate, which is going to be the theme and the topic for our conversation today. So warm welcome, Barbara.
Thank you, Lyn, for having me.
So just tell me a little bit, for the sake of the audience that haven't heard you have my conversations with you before, a little bit about yourself and what's led you to be doing what you're doing today.
Well, I was a single professional woman, very successful in my career as a travel advertising sales executive. And after going through a very devastating divorce at the age of 36, I was married to an Australian man. I moved back to the States and just really dove into my career, spent a lot of time with my family, continued to date and try to meet a better match, but kept repeating the same old cycles and hitting the wall. I did a ton of inner work over the years, workshops on rebirthing and affirmations and Tony Robbins and Walking on Fire and Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson, A Course in Miracles, and Sandra Ray with Conscious Rebirthing, and a lot. But it wasn't until I started working with an EFT or tapping coach that I actually had a somatic type of ritual or what would you call tapping, a practice.
Yes.
That truly enabled me to transform whatever limiting beliefs I had going on in the subconscious mind that I wasn't even aware of that I had. Working with her for 18 months, we would meet every 2 weeks and I would record my tapping sessions. And out of nowhere, easily and effortlessly, my husband contacted me. I was in a very good place, but I had been working with this coach for 18 months. And the reason why I say I released some limiting beliefs that I wasn't even aware of is that, I think that I was conscious of many things before I started tapping, but something about the tapping went into the subconscious mind because, 90% of your thoughts and 90% of the things you do is a result of what's in your subconscious mind. So I can't really specifically say what was the one thing that we tapped on that shifted me. I just know that through doing the work with her, somehow, magically, the universe answered my prayers.
Excellent.
And Kevin came into my life, and it happened all very quickly once we were together. I knew he was the right one for me.
So just for the benefit of the audience then, the EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and that's a tapping technique, isn't it?
Correct. I actually wound up doing an EFT level 1 and level 2 workshop training because I just realized it was such a powerful modality. And yeah, so it's EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. Some people call it body talk also, because your body actually speaks to you, kind of subconsciously with okay, you should tap on this, you should tap on that. But what it does is it kind of makes you friends with the feelings that you have, not just push them away, but embrace them and kind of work through them, right? And that's what we did. So you usually do 2 or 3 rounds of tapping on a specific subject or situation that really bothered you. And it's almost like tapping on one thing actually enables you to release other things as well that you're not tapping on.
Yeah. And
have you ever done tapping, Lyn?
And when you're talking about tapping, you're talking about tapping on certain points of the body with your fingers, aren't you?
You start at the top of your head, inside your eyes, side of your eyes, underneath your eyes, underneath your nose, mouth, collarbone, underneath your arm, and then back. And then some people, and you start on the side of your hand. And some people do it on their wrist as well. There are some other teachers who teach you to do some other sections of your hand, but I was trained to do it with what I just showed you. So, and the thing is, I was introduced to tapping, funny enough, through Nick Ortner, who has a summit every year called the Tapping Summit. And this was like 10 years ago that I was introduced to it. He was interviewing Louise Hay, and it was a free summit. And I sat and I listened and I tapped, and I was like, whoa, I should try this. I love Louise Hay, and she's gone now,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
I followed her for years. That's how I was introduced to
Me too.
affirmations and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Been down the same roads by the sound of it in terms of our history and background and previous trainings. So when it comes to the science of attracting your soulmate, then what would you like to share with our audience around, things that helped you get into the right energy and frequency to be able to attract your now new husband?
Right. Well, 8 years, so not so new anymore. 8 years this October. Um, and I'll tell you, it keeps getting better and better. And you know what's amazing is that when you're with the right person, you don't know everything about somebody when you first get together and you first get married. I mean, over the years, things have unfolded, and I have discovered about him that, like, are happy surprises, little things, silly little things that just reinforce our level of compatibility. A silly little thing. We went out to dinner. This was like 2 summers ago, and we ordered calamari. And I hate the tentacles. I only like the rings. Well, guess what? He only likes the tentacles and doesn't like the rings. Now, this is a silly little thing, and we laugh about it, but the level of compatibility of just like being a perfect match has shown up for us many times through the years. So the key, though, I think, number one, and what I was really a victim of is that a part of me didn't admit that I wanted to be in love again, or I wanted to get happily married in the early days because I was so hurt after my divorce. And my mind was so clouded thinking that all men are jerks and abusive and just dominate. They want to dominate you, and oh, it was awful. And also because I had a career and I was ambitious, I had this belief that, men were threatened by ambitious women. So I could see my behavior was to go with men who were like dumbing down a little bit, who wouldn't feel that threatened or wouldn't even care, like they were just cute boys or whatever.
Mm.
And because I was trying to protect my heart, not fall in love and just, be here now relationship. And then as I got into my 40s, I really started to feel like, my late 40s mostly, like I don't want to be alone the rest of my life. Like I was raised in a family. My parents were married for 61 years. I had so much stability. Both of my grandparents were married for 60 years. And, you know, as a rebel, as a youth, I was very rebellious. I used to think, oh, it's so boring. But as I got older, I realized, no, not boring, peaceful, comfort, stability. Like, yeah, yeah. I was starting to admit, like, I want that. I want that. And I think a lot of times what happens is professional women dig so hard into their career and making money, and they go into that masculine head of do, make it happen, that they don't sit still and are quiet enough to hear the whisperings of their own heart and really honor them. And it wasn't until that I started to get into my late 40s and slowed down a little bit in terms of spending quiet time together, alone rather, and meditating and journaling, like, you know what? I would love to attract like an amazing man. And I just didn't have the confidence that I was able to do that based on my history. So I think the first thing is to admit to yourself that this is what you really want and not to be ashamed of it. I was ashamed for admitting it because my generation was all about career, independence, liberated woman, I think very influenced by Gloria Steinem and the whole women's liberation movement. Like, I don't need a man. And I just finally got to the place of peace and kind of a sense of wholeness within that, like, there is nothing wrong with wanting love in your life, intimate love, and having a family and all of that. So honestly, I feel like that was the number one thing for me, admitting it to myself.
Yeah, I think quite a lot of us do get conditioned by our environment, whether that's, our parents, our friendship groups, our the media that we consume, all influences, doesn't it? And the things that are trending, like you say, such as the independent woman phase of burning your bra and not needing a man sort of type era.
Right. And I used to watch Sex in the City, right? Like it's okay to just go have casual sex with men, relationships. Anyway, and they all wound up getting married in the end, but the struggle that they went through, that was kind of like one of my role model shows, which is not a good thing. I never
But
wore high heels walking around New York City, also FYI. That is so unrealistic. Because I did live in New York City for 6 years after I came back from Australia, and I worked for a magazine there selling advertising. So that show was going on at the time.
and it just goes to show, that subconsciously we don't even know that we're consuming stuff that's influencing the things that we don't want and stopping us getting what we do want.
And also the influence of the vision and the image of the ideal woman that a man would want. Like Big would only want someone like Sarah Jessica Parker, who was this big, right? And a total fashionista, like this whole image thing, which is so wrong and so unrealistic. Like I am definitely not one of those kind of women at all. And my husband absolutely adores me for exactly who I am in terms of how I dress and how I present myself. But anyway, so yeah, that's a show like that really projects an image that a lot of women try to look up to, like the shoes and shopping for shoes that cost $200 or $300. Let's get real, ladies.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever paid that for a pair of shoes in my life. Probably even for the sum total of my shoes.
Right. But you could see how it would influence single women, right?
Yes. Yeah. Especially if you are on that period of life where you are feeling like you want to pave a career or a business for yourself, and be perceived as that independent woman who's strong and self-reliant and confident. But, underneath it all, I think we're all wanting that lovely romantic partner that is a good match for us, regardless of how we want to, I suppose, appear in terms of success in our career path life. That underneath it all, I think we all are striving for love, aren't we?
Yeah, I mean, our basic divine right is to love and to be loved. That is our birthright. And that was one of the big aha moments I had from a workshop I did with Dr. Claire Zammit called Feminine Power. Like, seriously, I'm in my late 40s, early 50s, and I do this workshop. You were born to be loved. You were not born to be alone. It's your divine right to give and receive love. Like, whoa, that was a transforming thought. Like, I never knew that. I thought I was born to like make money, have a career, be financially stable, don't depend on a man. That's how I was raised. When I was growing up, a lot of men were having heart attacks and dying at a young age. It was before I think statins were on the market, or whatever, or what they really knew a lot about heart disease. So my programming was get educated, get a career, and be financially independent. No education around how to create a loving relationship with an equal. And what I did realize and did find and have with my husband is that he is not one bit threatened by me as a career person, because he's had his own career and he's very humble and he's very grounded within himself and confident within himself. So he didn't feel threatened by me. He embraced me and he encouraged me, and he was happy to join me on business trips when I would go to the Caribbean.
Excellent. Love
He
that.
enjoyed the benefits of my career.
That's great. And I think also it's important to stress that during you're single, if you're unintentionally single, quite a lot of us are,
Yeah,
that's a good space to be in, and celebrate and embrace it from a point of use that time to work on yourself, because first and foremost, we need to fall in love with ourselves, don't we, before we go looking externally.
absolutely. That's step number one. Yep. And part of falling in with yourself is being honest with yourself. Like, what do I really, really, really want? And having that be okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with the desires that are in your heart. What's wrong is suppressing them and not acknowledging them. But also part of the first step is one of the things that I learned were the basic scientific laws of attraction. I read the book, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Wattles. Have you ever read that?
No, I haven't.
Wallace D. Wattles was around in the early 1900s, and he was a total metaphysician. He was brilliant. He was around during the time of Ernest Holmes and Charles Fillmore. But Ernest Holmes founded the Science of Mind Church, and Charles Fillmore founded Unity. And all of these were based on the scientific principles that there's one divine intelligence, one formless substance or thinking stuff from which all things are made. And the second principle was that a thought in this formless substance produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. In other words, thoughts become things. If you think you can't, you can't. If you think you can, you can. If you think you're deserving of a loving relationship, you will attract one. If you think you're unworthy, you will attract someone who proves that to be right as well. So along with admitting to yourself is understanding this basic scientific principle, another thing that we were never taught when we were in grade school. This kind of stuff should be taught at the very beginning of your life because it is the foundation for anything that you want to manifest in your life, whether it's career, relationships, opportunities, all of that, that we are such powerful creators and we have to manage our thoughts because that is, thoughts become things. What you think about, what you speak about manages how you feel. Did you ever wake up in the morning and feel really bad? Well, look at what your thoughts are.
Absolutely. I think also within your thoughts to actually make sure you're sort of observing and catching them, if they're taking you down some sort of dark rabbit hole. Also, your posture can affect the way you think and feel as well, can't it? So if you've got your head tucked down, your shoulders rounded, and your chin on your chest, then you're more likely to sort of have those darker thoughts than if you're standing upright with your chest sticking out and your shoulders back, sort of thing.
Yeah. And this is what the work that Tony Robbins does. It's like, get into state, right? And he's like, get into that state where that all the manifesting of all the great things come. And that's exactly, the somatic state is key. And you're absolutely right. Looking down, body language, all of that. So when you're down and looking, you're cutting off receiving. And when you're up and open, you're certainly more open to receiving the goodies in life. But the second part of really attracting your soulmate is, clearing your blockages. And that's when I was introduced to the EFT. So that was like my modality. But that's not necessarily the modality for everyone. There's many different ways, for you to really clear your most limiting beliefs about yourself. And I felt now looking back, like I wasted so much time. I was divorced for 20 years. And had I worked with a coach much sooner, I think that I would have flipped the switch on all of this much sooner. But I was into doing the Lone Ranger Act, never ask for support. Another common trait of an independent woman. I can do it on my own. I mean, I even have friends now who are around my age, divorced, just broke up with another guy. And I've said to her, hey, someone I went to college with, I've been friends with her for like a very long time. I'll help you. There's obviously some limiting beliefs that you're unaware of. And she's like, I can do it myself. Okay. And I was like, I kept my mouth shut. I felt like saying, really? Your results really?
How's that working for you?
Yeah, exactly. But this is a reaction of people who they're like afraid to be vulnerable. They're afraid to maybe step in and work with a coach who can help them with their blind spots. So people like that, I think, okay, you're just not ready. You want to keep repeating the patterns, but I guess the only thing that happens when you keep repeating, time marches on, right? 5 years, 10 years, same old life. So I think working with a coach, doing whatever modality resonates with you, to get into alignment within yourself, to get into alignment with the subconscious beliefs that are running you, and also learn how to raise your love vibration, which is through the power of gratitude. Gratitude is the doorway to so much goodness. And Wallace D. Wattles gets into it in The Science of Getting Rich. And actually, that's why I named my book The Science of Attracting Your Soulmate, because it's based on the principles from The Science of Getting Rich, which are universal principles. Thoughts become things. That's what they teach in Unity. That's what they teach in, Ernest Holmes' church, the science of mind. That's what Ernest Holmes started. The metaphysical Christian light churches, which I love.
No, I didn't know that. So you've educated me on that one. But certainly I I'm aware of what you've been talking about. I've done all the Tony Robbins stuff myself, so I have been down that path, as well as all the other people that you mentioned in terms of past passions
Yeah.
and trainings around personal development and personal growth. But you just don't know, do you, when that you never get sorted. In other words, you're always on that path once you've opened that door. There's always
Oh, well,
something
because
else that,
spiritual growth is a lifetime journey.
yes, yeah.
Just acknowledge that, like, everything is, we're always learning, whether it's spirituality or just like, look at us. Here we are in an internet digital age. Did we know 20, 30 years ago we were going to have to learn about Zoom and how to get on a call? Seriously. So we're always learning and growing and developing. The other kind of modalities to help with transforming your beliefs, if you're not into tapping, I mean, there's another modality that's kind of conjunctive with tapping. It's called matrix re-imprinting. And though that's when you go back into your childhood and you look at a specific time where you were hurt, you were wounded, and you actually re-imprint it with a different vision. So that's another modality. And then recently, I'm doing a summit called Magnetize Your Match, Top Secrets Every Ambitious Woman 40 Plus Needs to Know About Attracting Her Soulmate. And one of my guest speakers on there is a shamanic soul retrieval coach. Have you ever done any shamanic soul retrieval meditations or work?
No, not specifically those sorts of meditations, but I've heard of them.
Well, let me tell you, when I interviewed her, I was like, whoa, where were you when I was on my soulmate path? Because what a powerful, powerful way to be clearing blockages through a guided meditation that she takes you through. And she explained to me that what happens is that when we have trauma in our youth, our soul actually fractures. As she was sharing this in the interview, I was like, I can really look back on my life and people around me and see this is exactly what was happening to them. But a shamanic soul retrieval helps clients reconnect with their authentic selves and their wholeness after they have gone through a trauma that kind of splits their soul. And she also works with animals because it's the same, the same in the indigenous cultures. They would see that, oh, this animal soul is, split also. So they do this practice on people as well as animals to create lasting changes. And so that's another interesting modality, I thought. And then there's hypnotherapy and all of that. So there's a lot of modalities out there that you can find that resonate with you. But I think find one that you really like and work with somebody, because that is what's going to make the lasting change. You need to work with the subconscious mind.
Absolutely. And like you say, there's not any one specific technique or modality that may be a perfect fit for you. It's worth exploring a lot of different ones to see which one feels a good
Yeah.
fit.
Like my husband doesn't like tapping because he doesn't like anybody tapping on his face, but he likes to meditate
Yes, I'm the
and do
same.
the inner journeys and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had a go at the tapping, but it didn't feel like it was a good fit for me. But yeah, certainly the meditating and guided meditations work a lot better for me. So it's just,
Yeah.
going and exploring different things and finding what suits your own particular learning style, isn't it?
And also the coach that you're working with, you have to connect with them. And I found somebody who was happily married, who had been through a divorce, who was a unity minister, and who did tapping. So she was a perfect match for me because she had what I wanted and she had gone through what I was going through.
And I think once you're ready, you attract they say, when the pupil is ready, the master will appear, don't they?
That's exactly what happened. I was in a tapping program. I think it was on weight loss with Jessica Ortner, which was Nick Ortner's sister. And this woman was in the same group. And that's how I met her. So, yeah. So we worked together for 8 months. And then during that time, the next step was to really create my vision statement. Like, okay, I've released all the things I don't want. Now, what do I really, really, really want? So I wrote down a list of all the negative things that I didn't like about past relationships. I put that on one side, like his kids were number one, or he wasn't spiritual, or he was too critical, you know. And then on the right side, after I would list what I didn't like, I would create an affirmation or just a statement about what I did want. So like I had a boyfriend who was so critical. Oh my God. And I wrote, I attract somebody who is loving, supportive, and non-judgmental. And then I also made an affirmation for myself call that I said, the more I love and accept myself, the more others love and accept me for exactly who I am. Because when I was dating this guy, I was 30 years old. And I look back and I think, well, if he was critical towards me and life is a mirror, where am I being critical towards myself? So when I really, really got that, and this was stuff that I discovered really on my own, I was able to turn around, actually to create that affirmation, the more I love and accept myself, the more others love and accept me for exactly who I am. I'm telling you, it took a long time. Like I wrote that affirmation many times in my journal because I'm a big journaler and I really condone daily journaling. It definitely turned around because my husband is the most non-critical, non-judgmental person on the planet. I'm more critical than he is. And believe me, if he wanted to find things to be critical and judgmental about me, he could. But he's not like that. It's not his basic DNA.
That's great. I love
And
that.
because he's reflecting back to me my beliefs. This is why we want to change our beliefs, because our beliefs are what we attract. Mirror, mirror on the wall. There's nobody out there but you. So as you elevate and change your own beliefs, you will see it reflected in your world with your coworkers, with your bosses, with the people you're dating. So I could really see that I made that shift in this relationship. Like, yeah. So it's all possible. But the vision statement gives you total clarity on what you really, really want. Otherwise, you'd keep going out with the same old people.
I'm wondering why you keep receiving the same old relationships.
And you keep suffering and you wind up being heartbroken again until you make the shift.
Absolutely. So Barbara, for the benefit of our audience members, what's the best contact information you can share with us for people to get in touch?
Well, my email is barbara@thescienceofattractingyoursoulmate.com. I'm on Facebook, Barbara Magro Berg. And I do have a private Facebook group. So if you befriend me on Facebook, I would invite you to join my group, which is The Science of Attracting Your Soulmate.
Excellent.
And then I'm also on Instagram, The Science of Attracting Love.
So you got it all covered.
Anyone could email me and I would be happy to do a private, introductory, complimentary soulmate call. I even created a quiz for people to take to find out where they're really blocked. Like, what is it? Some people are over anxious and they want to get involved too quickly when they meet somebody. And that energy kind of pushes people away rather than taking your time. Like, taking your time is so important when you're meeting new people. Some people are more standoffish, detached. They go out with people, but they don't really care. So we want to see where you're at and what it is that is your biggest blockage before we would wind up working together. Or just buy my book and you can do a self-study, because at the end of each chapter in my book, there's questions to ask and, reflective questions to integrate what you learned in that particular lesson.
That's a great idea. So any final words of wisdom before we wrap things up around the science of attracting your soulmate that you'd like to share with the audience?
One of the things that really I think is a very powerful thing to do is to create your own vision board. I used to do vision boards for my life. And then I got really specific and I did a vision board just for my relationship. And I put a picture of myself in the middle with a picture of a man that would be like my ideal man, but it was my head on someone's body next to a man. And I put a word that I wanted. So it was like loving relationship or, just partnership or soulmate. And then I put on the vision board all of the things that represented a happy relationship and marriage with my soulmate. And I made that vision board 2 years before Kevin came into my life. And I put it in my relationship corner because I'm a big proponent of feng shui and your relationship corner. And I would look at it for 68 seconds every single day. That's what it takes to go into your subconscious mind. And I have manifested every single thing on that vision board, including a place by the beach, a place in the mountains, family, travel, bicycle riding together, kayaking, canoeing, all of that. And the other thing, and I learned this recently from my summit, Lyn, I'm going to share this with you. I told you I'm a feng shui, devotee.
Yeah.
5 things not to put in your master bedroom. Never knew this. No religious artifacts. If you're Christian, no crosses. If you're Jewish, no, star of Judea, whatever it is. No spiritual books. Create a separate space in a separate room for your meditation and all of that. No pictures of families. If you put pictures of your family in your bedroom, you'll have arguments, according to this feng shui expert. You'll have arguments with your partner over your kids or your family. Also, no pictures of just one person, like you by yourself. The pictures that you have in there as you're single are happily married couples. So, and I forget what the 5th thing was, but wow, that was like, because of course I had, spiritual things in my bedroom, and I had pictures of family in my bedroom when I was on my Soulmate. But now, since I've learned that in our bedroom, everything is just about us and the joy in our relationship. Our pictures of us happily doing things. So the thing is, just to wrap it up, is that you set your intention for what you want. You admit to yourself that you want love and that you're deserving of it. You work with a great mentor to help clear your blockages. You create a vision statement of what you really, really want after you look at all the things that didn't work in past relationships and putting down what would work for you. And then you nurture your soul with these spiritual practices. I have full moon rituals. On a full moon, you release blockages. On a new moon, you set your intention to bring things in. I talk about writing a soulmate prayer that you say every single night outside under the stars, and creating a vision board for the relationship that you desire, and make sure your bedroom is ready to receive love.
Love it. Thank you so much, Barbara. It's been a fascinating conversation. Really appreciate you coming on today and telling us all about the science of attracting your soulmate.
Thanks, Lyn, for having me. It's great to see you again.
So it just leaves me to say that true love starts with opening our hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group 2 Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.